So welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to touch on how everything is waves, and essentially we've now spoken about the fact that everything is energy, everything vibrates, but another crucial component to physical reality is that everything is also waves at the same time. And those waves are technically part of the vibration that we perceive. That vibration, if you had to zoom in, so if I say everything is energy, which we now understand is, when we say everything is energy, we now know it is what? It is one, molecules, it is two, atoms, it is three, protons, electrons, and neutrons, and four other subatomic particles. So in essence, that, my friends, is all energy. So all of this is what we can classify as energy. Now within that, obviously there's categories of mass energy and kinetic energy and so forth. So I'm not going to go too deep into this because I'm not a quantum physicist, but this is just the layman's terms of what energy consists of. But as part of this, these things need to essentially vibrate at a specific level. And if you had to, because now we know energy and vibration creates physical matter, because E equals mc squared, like we discussed earlier, is essentially energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Now the two are interchangeable, so energy can't be created or destroyed, it's just one moves to the other. So everything basically is all the time. So the energy of, that's why they say the energy of someone passing away is never really away. That energy now is in spirit. He's just transformed. That energy is now completely a different form of energy. So it can't be destroyed in a sense, because you can still feel that person if you think about them. And sometimes they actually, you can feel the actual spirit as well. And that's essentially what Albert Einstein was alluding to, that everything is energy all the time. It's just we perceive different forms of energy, which then starts to create our physical reality. Okay, not to digress too much. So we understand now everything's energy, everything vibrates. But what is vibration? If you had to look closer at vibration, it is really just waves. So that, my friends, is what we call vibration. Okay, so that is a vibration. Now, if you vibrate low frequency, it looks like this. Because there's, oh wait, let me redo that. And in essence, we can classify vibration into two categories. We can say it is a high vibration. Oh, let me do this. Cool, so this is vibration, and we can classify vibration into two categories. We can say high vibration and low vibration, and this is essentially what we call the wave. It's a wave of vibration. Okay, think about it, like this looks like a wave. That is technically vibration, and it's basically all of these things just oscillating, vibrating really quickly or very slowly. So what you perceive as physical matter then really is just the construct of the molecules, like how it's all constructed together, and how quickly or high it vibrates or how low it vibrates. And this is technically what we call a wave. Now, in essence, if something vibrates slow, it's going to look like this. There's not going to be a ton of movement on the actual wave length of it. Like, so it's not going to go too high over here, and it's not going to go too low over there. So it's almost like a constant line, and obviously it can go faster. If it goes faster, it might look like this. And if it goes really quickly, it can look like that. So that is all waves. So I just want to talk a little bit about light quickly. Light is obviously really crucial because it allows us to perceive reality around us. It allows us to interact with reality. And without light, we won't be able to do that. So in theory, light is extremely crucial. And the smallest particle of light, for those of you that don't know, is called a photon. So a photon, my friends, is the smallest known particle of what we know is resembling light. And this, in theory, is a photon. Now, What scientists have noticed is that light can be either two things. It could be this photon, or it could be a wave. Light is either one of those two. Okay, so light can either be perceived as a photon or a wave. What scientists have realized is when you do not observe light, it is a wave. When you do observe light, light becomes a photon. And that is the observer effect, essentially, in a case study. Is that when you're not looking, light is just a wave. When you look, that wave collapses into an actual photon. Just think about that for a second. So the reality around you basically collapses from a wave. So this wave changes when you look at it, and it becomes a photon. So all of this goes away. So the moment you look at it, the moment the moment you observe light, it changes from a wave to a photon. The moment you don't look at light, it basically goes back to a wave and it's not a photon anymore. That, my friends, is the observer effect. So you consciously interacting with reality, you basically collapse waves into photons every time you perceive reality, every time you look at it. Now what was interesting is the double slit experiment, in a nutshell, explained in a bit more layman's terms. So the double slit experiment is quite simple. We had two slits, right? So this is all closed, like this is all solid, okay? This is all solid. And we have our scientist over here, and he's shooting a wave of light. And he wanted to see where is that wave of light going to go to. And he realized that when he was looking at the actual experiment, he realized that it went through one, and it made like a dot at the back. But when he wasn't looking, it went to both. It literally went to both, that's why this is so. And the question now is, what does this really mean? Because essentially went through both. And not that it just make a dot at the back of both, it made a pattern, like a pattern of dots, infinitely growing that way and infinitely going that way at the back, which is mind-blowing. So this is why this is so mad. So in layman's terms, what does this actually mean then? For science, what does this mean? This means that, my friends, that there is an infinite amount of possible realities, and they all exist in the realm of light, and your consciousness, essentially how you think, how you perceive reality, basically creates that wave, and it turns it into a photon, and those photons construct and create light together on how you then actually perceive and see reality around you. So in theory, for the sake of this video, the bottom line is that light can be perceived as a wave. Well, it can't be perceived as a wave because when we look at it, it becomes a photon. But when it's not being observed, it's technically a wave of endless possibilities. Now the question becomes, how can our thoughts, the energy that we vibrate, how can the way that we perceive reality actually reconstruct light around you in order to potentially manifest and create a reality that you prefer? And the reason this is so crucial is because I believe this is what the most successful people have figured out. A lot of them talk about visualizing your goals. A lot of them talk about, the secret information in these societies on how your thoughts create your reality. A lot of people say what you think about, you become. A lot of people say if you believe you can or you can't, it's true. And all of that ties back to how you actually interact and perceive reality. And if you can perceive reality in a more constructive and desired way, in a more optimistic way, then certain events will start to follow suit into your life and will start to match that energy and frequency that you're vibrating. But you don't have to believe me just yet. This sounds really woohoo. I completely get it. We'll dive more into the next video. So that's all for now. Let's move on.